Hello everybody. So my project is resolution for tarmac delays and flying efficiency. So as you all know, we all love to fly in the world. So even for domestic or international flights, we like to go rather than going in the car. As example, if you want to go from one place to another in US, especially right now I'm living in New York, so I'm going to live. If I want to go to Florida, I can simply go by car or I can go by plane. But when we as passengers, when we decide what we want to do, we normally check what's the best efficient way in order to go there. So most of the time we select flights over going for a road trip. If you really want to go for a road trip, then definitely you can go, but most of the time we select flights. So as example, just imagine you get into a plane and you are waiting for plane to take off, but it's taking too much time and you are stuck in the plane and you don't want to go out, but still the crew and everybody is asking you to calm down, but still the plane is not taking off. Just imagine you are stuck in a plane for a long time and you know it's an official thing, but still you are stuck and you get frustrated. So I was trying to write like a research report about this topic mainly. So because I found it very fascinating, because I'm normally very interested in flying, aviation, and aeronautics. So I like to understand how it will be for a passenger, and in scenario like this, we can find out with the stats and information which we get from all the people who are traveling in planes and have experienced this type of behavior from flight aeroplanes and certain scenarios. So I wanted to explore, because this is a very ethical, sometimes a very common issue as well. So most of the flights, airlines, they are trying to prevent this, but still it happens because it can be multiple issues related to this uh, topic. So I wanted to explore this because it was fascinating for me to understand how it will be for anybody who is stuck in the plane or after coming from a long journey. It can happen in other way around too. After coming from the for a long journey and you end up in the airplane, they are not allowing you to take out from the plane. That can also happen, and that can be also a tarmac delay. So there will be two ways this issue can happen for a lot of people. So especially since we all live in US, we also travel all the time. Most of the time you guys travel, you get into this type of issues. So I want to explore and how the passengers, what kind of benefits that passengers have, what kind of solutions they have, as well as what's the common policies of this scenario. So I wanted to explore in this project. So I was doing certain research. So mainly these are my brief. I want to give the research idea how I gather information from this project. So this is the project, this is the topic which I wanted to give. So this is like a brief introduction which I gave, but the correct introduction which I wanted to talk in the project is mainly what is a tarmac delay. So as I told you before, there are like two ways we can have the tarmac delay. One is with when we are in the plane, we are about to take off, but the plane is not taking off, so you just waiting and waiting, and sometimes you get like hard to breathe also. So I wanted to find out what are the instances and what are the longest tarmac delays people have experienced, and ask what kind of policies the certain airlines have. And I'm pretty sure there might be like certain policies for certain countries as well. So I wanted to explore because this is like a common issue. Like it's not like a major issue in the world, but at least people who travel, because traveling is one of the essential part. Right now we are in COVID-19 situation, so we don't travel, but we used to travel a lot in this world, especially we live in US, so we travel even to state. We prefer to go by plane. So this kind of a scenario happens to anybody, it will be a tragic, it will be a very uncomfortable, and it can destroy your mood day. So I wanted to find out what are the tarmac delays can happen. So mainly I wanted to understand what is it. So as I mentioned, when taking off it can happen, as well as when you are in a long journey, you got into a plane. Imagine some of us are from India and all the South Indian part of the world and South Asia. So we are having some, if we come to US or UK or somewhere in North America or South America, it will be very long flight for us. So we might be having so many layovers, or we might be having in certain stoppage while we were coming. So after coming to a certain place, after coming from an international flight, and you end up stuck in a same airport for a very long time, it will clearly blow your mind. So it is very important to understand why it can be happen. So if anybody in the world who wants has done this thing, they will understand what kind of a pressure they went through while he was in this situation. I don't have personal experience about this issue, but still most of the people in the world who travel often, because I know some friends of mine who comes to work on Monday, uh, but he goes on Thursday. So daily in the weekly he travels more than 5,000 to 6,000 miles, because he was we had a project in uh, Michigan, and he has to come. His family was in Dallas, so he has to come to work every Monday morning. So he'll take a rental car from the airport. He used to come to work, but he used to fly from Dallas and Dallas to uh, Michigan. So we were working in Detroit. So he used to do that often. So imagine a person, a work professional who has certain works for you, and you just have to, you have a tight schedule, and you have certain work also need to be done in a certain time. So the flight hours will be very, after coming, taking off from the plane, you just have to go out and do that work because you immediately want to go to work. Maybe within 2 hours or 3 hours you have work. But imagine after coming from the flight for a long time and you are stuck in the airport, with, they are not allowing, or the airline and the pilot and the crew is not allowing you to take out from the plane. They are saying some kind of issue is happening, maybe a weather issue, maybe a certain engine failure, or maybe some gate is not open, maybe there was an accident. So it can happen from airport, as well as it can happen from the airline perspective. It can happen in crew emergency, it can happen in the passenger emergency, it can happen in multiple ways. So I wanted to explore, I wanted to find out what are the things in this world which helps to prevent this type of scenarios. So I had to have certain conceptual understanding of this project. So I physically I listed down three main uh, people who are going to get affected due to this. So I found out three parties. So mainly airline, crew, and passengers. But these are the three main people who gonna get affected in a certain scenario like this. Because as example, when you get that kind of experience, when a passenger get kind of experience, passenger will never fly in that airline. So airline will get a really bad reputation when you get this type of issue. Sometimes it can be a crew issue, because sometimes, as you all know, we have seen multiple videos how passengers get treated from crew. other way around also happens. Sometimes passengers become rude to the crew also. So it is always an issue. So this type of issue can also give you a tarmac delay. Just imagine, as example, if somebody is in the flight and he has get into the flight and he is walking in the plane and he's like acting very reckless, and he's very doing some trouble to people, or some kind of a sexual harassment, or harassing other people, or getting to fight. This type of stuff can happen too, because sometimes passengers also uh, like crazy. You have seen a lot of movies also this type of issue. So certain genre of movies are there where it's all about planes and aeroplanes and airlines. So certain people, certain audiences there where they see these movies and they get fascinated about. So this is a common issue in the aviation and airline industry. So I just wanted to find out it more and gather more information and policies behind it and write a paper about it, because final project I wanted to write a nice paper about this issue and addressing this issue and understanding what can be done to prevent this type of issue, because it's very hard to prevent, because there are multiple scenarios where passenger not have any kind of authority or power to prevent this type of scenario. So it's essential for me to understand what can be done to at least give a certain kind of a favor to the passengers or crew or airline. Even airline get really bad reputed, even it's a silly mistake from a one person or one employee. Airline will get a really bad reputation. You know how the social media works right now in this country as well as in the world. Even a silly mistake, a small mistake which can lead to a tarmac delay, can cause a big dent in airline reputation. So their stocks will go down and people won't travel within that airline. As you know, Delta Airline is there, American Airlines is there, United Airlines is there. Some issue can happen like this. So what kind of policies they have done in order to prevent these stuff? So that is what I'm trying to understand in this project. After that, I need to find out analysis and discussion, because there should be some kind of a talking point and understanding from the information I was gathered from this project. So I wanted to find it out and discuss in my paper, and what are the causes and what are the treatments and what are the solutions. All these information will be gathered around and will be written nicely in my project. So that's the main idea which I had. So I was trying to do some kind of a computer simulation task in order to understand what kind of a scenario based answer which we can give in order to solve this issue. Because if you experience this, you can definitely understand how it will be. Because if you lose a really important meeting or a really important family function, even something related to you personally, you will understand how it can affect you. So it is essential for me to give a good analysis on what we can do in order to prevent this scenario and help you out with certain ways to prevent this issue. So in this project, that's my main focus. So these are the references I went through in order to give a good understanding on how I did the project. So the first reference is mainly about Hannah Julia's improving fairness in flight delays. So this paper gives me a working knowledge in order to understand how the project works. So when the tarmac delay happen, lot of people have lot of issues. So they get into certain issues that you will be forgetting all your work. So when you are stuck in a one plane without leaving out, so it will be giving a mental stress also. So this project gives a good understanding. In order to write this reference number one, which is Hannah Julia's improving fairness in flight delays, help a lot. So after that, I got a chance to read the new rules for airlines kicked in this week to protect flyers. So this paper had good understanding on how to do the project too. So I read this and gave a good brief introduction how the airlines kick off and as well as take off, and when they come to the airport, how what are the procedures in order to understand how passengers will go out from the plane, as well as when the passengers inside the plane, how they are taking off, and crew responsibilities as well as airline responsibilities. All this information was gathered round in this paper. Next paper which I went through was the when it comes to weather related flight cancellation, airlines are off the hook. This paper was written by Choi Candice. So this paper mainly give an understanding of how this paper read the weather, and weather gives a good edge on how these delays happen, because if there's a weather issue in the airport surface, it's very dangerous to take off flights. Because I have a very my friend told me that he was in the snow time, when there is like winter time, when you have uh, airport covered with lot of snow, it is very dangerous in order to take off flights. So you might end up in a plane stuck in a snowstorm, and you don't know what to do, and you will be simply scolding the airline and weather. So this type of issues are addressed in this paper. As you all know, there are multiple cases about how to prevent these issues. So everything was mainly discussed about the weather, and information was clearly written, and Choi Candy's paper was very adorable. So after that, I went through the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. This is the place where all the data of delays are there. So when you read this, you will get a lot of information about the delays and statistics, how actually this stuff happens. In on time, when the flight doesn't come, you have very headache, because in a certain scenarios you have to attend to a certain wedding or function, maybe a job also. Within 2 hours of landing the flight, you might have to go there. So if you get delayed, tarmac delayed, you can't have any excuses, because you will lose that time, the memories. And the most important time is to go take off from the flight safely, because safety is very important. Because if you are not safe, then you shouldn't go out from the plane. But still, I wanted to gather all these ethical sides of the project also and write it in nicely in my paper. So that's why I read mainly different issues, because the computer simulation as well as data statistics all mixed up, but ethical sides of the issue also needs to be addressed in this work. So I read about the data from tarmac delay causes from Bureau of Transportation Statistics. After that, I got a chance to read the airline glitches top cause of delays USA Today by Levin Allen. So this paper also very important, because it gives me good understand how to write that and give you a very good understanding, because it's a common cause and it's also a natural cause, because tarmac delays mostly happen by a natural cause, unless a passenger or crew acts very bad or they behave in a bad way, that type of thing. If there's some issue, Delta, American, and United are the three main airlines in this country. So all these three airlines has major advantages over, and they always complete each other. So if something like this happens, they can lose millions of dollars, because you need to understand one issue like this can lose 50 to 60 customers. Just think about it. If you are end up in a plane 3 to 4 hours in a certain flight and you lost a most important stuff in your life, you lose it, you will feel like you will never travel in that airline ever again. You might try to get some money from the airline as well. They won't give the money also. You will get really pissed off, and you will try to go to social media and really talk bad about this airline. So airlines will be trying to prevent this type of issue. As you all know, we are in a corona time. We can't do lot of traveling right now, but still we used to travel a lot. In this class most of the people have traveled a lot in this country. So because even for city to city we go by aeroplane. We don't like to go in road trips, as I mentioned earlier also. So if stuff like this happens regularly, the airlines won't get the passengers, and there will be a new airlines coming, and they might have to give a lot of money to the passengers, because you need to pay for insurances if there's some air safety concerns, sometimes the breathing problem. Just imagine you are stuck in a plane for a long time and you have to have oxygen, right? So if you can't provide oxygen to the passengers, they might get sick. So it's very important to understand that too. So after that, I read about the understanding of the reporting causes flight delay from the Bureau of Transportation. This is all about data. So this place, the Bureau of Transportation, US Department of Transportation, transportation statistics are mainly about delays and cancellations of flights in this country. So it was very informative for me to proceed and give a good report to the people who gonna read my paper. So professor gave me very good encouragement on how to write this paper with a good understanding on a vast knowledge we gathered around on a certain topic. So since I was fascinated about this particular topic, I had to gather around most of the important stuff and technical stuff, as well as the ethical side of stuff, statistical sides of stuff, data wise information, and common misconceptions about tarmac delays also. Because as you know, there should be misconception, there are some misconceptions, because whenever something happens like this, passengers will tend to score to the airline or crew. But it can be a natural cause, because airlines can't prevent some things because they are beyond from their hands. So we need to discuss that too. So I want to give that understanding in this paper. So I did a research on these topics, and these papers were very helpful. I wanted to give you these papers, and then this is my project which I was writing, and I wanted to present and give understanding on how it was done and what I was working on all this while in this semester. So Professor Maniekla has been a very big help, and he was very understanding and giving good understanding to this project. So I thank you so much for everybody in this class, and I wish you all the very best.